The ongoing legal complexities surrounding Prince Andrew have intensified, with the Duke of York currently facing an active investigation by the Metropolitan Police, a development that places him at the centre of renewed public and legal scrutiny within the United Kingdom. This police inquiry is unfolding amid persistent claims concerning the existence of alleged video recordings that reportedly depict Prince Andrew in highly compromising situations involving individuals described as teenage victims. The profound seriousness of these allegations is underscored by the nature of the purported evidence, which, if substantiated and released in the public domain, could have far-reaching and profound implications for the royal figure and the wider British establishment. These claims collectively suggest an escalating pressure on the Duke, particularly as the legal framework tightens around historical allegations connected figures like the late Jeffrey Epstein. The fact that Prince Andrew was reportedly arrested some months prior further highlights the gravity of the official attention now directed towards him, transforming what were once abstract allegations in concrete investigative actions by law enforcement. Central these assertions are details purportedly contained within specific documents from the Department of Justice files, which outline a disturbing narrative of events. One particular file reportedly describes an account originating from an individual whose friend engaged in intimate acts with unnamed parties, specifying that these interactions were meticulously captured on film. The report indicates that these tapes were filmed during each separate occasion, documenting activities that allegedly implicate 3 distinct men in highly illicit conduct. Crucially, the individual managed to persuade her friend provide some of this sensitive video footage for safekeeping, recognizing its potential significance. This material was then reportedly backed up on multiple USB sticks, a deliberate and calculated measure taken to secure the evidence against potential loss or destruction. These USB drives containing the alleged recordings were subsequently dispatched to various locations across Europe, suggesting a concerted and strategic effort to disperse the sensitive material and ensure its preservation beyond a single point of vulnerability. The strategic distribution of these alleged recordings across different European jurisdictions points a calculated move to protect what is perceived as critical and potentially explosive evidence. Further corroboration for the existence and strategic dissemination of such volatile content emerges from statements attributed to Sarah Ransom, whose accounts have added weight to these claims. Ms. Ransom has reportedly spoken about receiving USB drives from a friend, which contained videos she explicitly described as depicting horrific stuff. According to her detailed account, she then okayed the proactive step of sending these drives to individuals she knew and trusted in Europe, explicitly stating her intention was to safeguard them and prevent any harm or loss. This narrative indicates the presence of a network of individuals potentially holding fragments of this significant evidence, strategically placed across the continent. The strategic placement of these USB drives across Europe is viewed by some as a crucial aspect of the ongoing case, holding the potential serve as definitive evidence that could fundamentally alter the legal landscape. Commentars suggest that if these drives were to be publicly released, they could be instrumental in holding numerous individuals accountable, potentially bringing down figures from various spheres of influence. Consequently, urgent calls have been made for an interview with Ms. Ransom to ascertain the current status and precise whereabouts of these videos, as their re-emergence could dramatically reshape the narrative and bring about significant legal and public consequences for various prominent figures, both domestically and internationally. These contemporary claims resonate powerfully with earlier allegations that surfaced as far back as 2016, which previously highlighted the alleged possession of private material featuring high-profile figures. These earlier reports specifically named Prince Andrew, alongside American businessman Bill Clinton and British entrepreneur Sir Richard Branson, in connection with sensitive content that was reportedly sent Europe. The historical context indicates that these materials were associated with a direct threat leak tapes, purportedly depicting teen victims with Andrew doing things, establishing a long-standing pattern of such grave accusations. The current environment, marked by the Metropolitan Police's active investigation in Prince Andrew and his reported prior arrest, is therefore perceived by some as the most opportune moment for the release of any existing tapes. The argument posits that while the iron is hot, the impact of such evidence would be maximal, potentially ensuring that comprehensive accountability is finally delivered those implicated. Adding another layer of complexity, the broader narrative surrounding Jeffrey Epstein and his illicit activities, an apparent note attributed him was recently unsealed and released to the public at the specific request of the New York Times. The note reportedly contained a series of provocative statements, including "They investigated me for months, found nothing. It is a treat be able choose one's time say goodbye. What, you want me do, bust out crying? No fun, not worth it." However, the authenticity of this purported note has been met with considerable and vocal skepticism from various quarters. Critics have pointed the notably dramatic and somewhat conversational phrasing, particularly the rhetorical question, "What? You want me do, bust out crying?" suggesting it does not align with Epstein's known communication style or the more formal language observed in his past depositions. The timing of the note's exclusive release, the New York Times, occurring after the initial batches of Department of Justice files had already been made public, has also raised pertinent questions. This specific sequence of events has led widespread suggestions that the note may not have been personally authored by Epstein but rather by another party, strategically introduced in the public discourse, serve an undisclosed purpose. Parallel discussions are reportedly taking place concerning the possibility of clemency for Ghislaine Maxwell, a key figure intimately connected to the Epstein scandal and his illicit network. These conversations suggest that Ms. Maxwell herself may be prepared to disclose the identities of other big names in exchange for a pardon or a significant reduction in her current sentence. The prospect of clemency for Ms. Maxwell is widely regarded as insane by many observers, particularly given the severity of her sentencing and the damning characterization of her actions as being worse than him. Despite the strong public sentiment against such a move, the potential for her offer significant and explosive revelations is acknowledged as a powerful bargaining chip. Some commenters speculate that the current circumstances, including Epstein's death and Prince Andrew's recent arrest, might inadvertently create a relatively safer environment for Ms. Maxwell to divulge information that she might have previously withheld due fear or perceived risk. Nevertheless, the likelihood of her actual release from prison is met with considerable doubt, primarily due to the anticipated severe public backlash that any such decision would undoubtedly provoke, underscoring the deep-seated public anger and the unwavering demand for justice in this complex and sensitive case. Further, underscoring the persistent and often perilous nature of involvement in the Epstein narrative, The Sun recently reported on the concerning disappearance of Elisabetta Ty Ferret, a case that highlights the ongoing vulnerabilities faced by alleged victims. Mrs. Ferret, identified as a former model and an alleged victim of Epstein, was reportedly missing for a period of 2 weeks, causing significant distress her family when her customary daily calls abruptly ceased. Her disappearance occurred in New York, a city closely associated with Epstein's extensive illicit activities and the location of his former mansion. The Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs reportedly engaged in collaborative efforts with US authorities to confirm her absence, and she was subsequently located after this 2-week period, a development that brought relief but also raised further questions. Mrs. Ferret had previously accused Epstein of deeply inappropriate conduct, specifically recounting an incident in 2004 where he allegedly undressed in front of her during what she believed was a professional meeting. In a moment of profound shock and fear, she described fighting him off by seizing a vibra and throwing it at his head in self-defense before fleeing the room as quickly as she could. This incident, combined with her recent disappearance, has fueled widespread concerns about the ongoing monitoring and potential intimidation faced by individuals who were victims of Epstein's network. Speculation suggests that those who possess critical information, such as the alleged tapes, might also be under constant surveillance, potentially through sophisticated means including CCTV and advanced AI intelligence, highlighting the pervasive and enduring reach of those connected to the case. This environment of alleged monitoring contributes to the reluctance of many victims come forward with specific big names, even after the release of Department of Justice files. The focus on Prince Andrew remains particularly sharp for many who closely follow these developments, with a prevailing belief that he is uniquely positioned to face the next wave of legal and public accountability. His past association with Jeffrey Epstein is often framed as being driven by a profound eagerness for financial gain and social connection, particularly with wealthy and influential individuals. Reports indicate that both Prince Andrew and his former wife, Sarah Ferguson, were actively seeking to cultivate relationships with global oligarchs, primarily motivated by a desire for money, suggesting a clear financial incentive for Andrew's involvement in Epstein's circle. Within this sphere of ambition and financial pursuit, it is suggested that Prince Andrew, characterized as perverted, also indulged in the illicit activities that Epstein notoriously facilitated. The widespread assumption amongst commentators is that Epstein meticulously documented his interactions with such prominent figures, making the existence of incriminating tapes highly probable, almost a certainty given his known modus operandi. Indeed, the Department of Justice files, despite extensive redactions applied to protect identities, are undersod contain references that point towards Prince Andrew, alongside other notable figures such as American businessman Bill Clinton and British entrepreneur Sir Richard Branson. There is a strong and vocal sentiment among those monitoring the case that Prince Andrew could ultimately be designated the sacrificial lamb, or, more appropriately, the accountability lamb. The next high-profile individual face significant legal repercussions from the wider group involved in Epstein's network. The anticipation of a potential trial involving the Duke is expected to become a major public spectacle, drawing immense international attention and scrutiny. Hopes are frequently expressed that formal charges could be brought against him in the coming years, with some speculating about timelines as ambitious as the end of this current year or by the close of 2026. This ongoing and multifaceted situation underscores the unwavering demand for comprehensive accountability regarding the events linked to Epstein's network. The potential emergence of the alleged tapes are viewed as a pivotal factor that could fundamentally reshape the narrative, bringing about decisive legal outcomes for prominent figures, and finally addressing the long-standing calls for justice that have persisted for years. The impact of such a release, particularly given the Duke's current police investigation and previous arrest, is anticipated to be monumental, potentially leading a definitive resolution in a case that has captivated and disturbed the public for a considerable period.